Hey, bro, hey, you don't need to put your knees back like that, man. Hey, bro, hey, you don't need to put your knees back like that, man.
Back up. Back up.
He's fucking pulled up.
What we got?
This next story comes from a cop from Chicago, from one of the nicest neighborhoods in Chicago, the Magnificent Mile, they call it. It's the downtown neighborhood with all the hyper expensive shops, sites of lots and lots of black mob violence over the last couple of years, lots of black on white crime. This is supposed to be one of those places that is safe. Anyway, this young black couple in their 20s, they said they're unemployed, but they were leaving a club in that part of the country, part of the city. And the newspaper story talks about how when they left the club, they started to harass, bother, taunt, humiliate homeless people, most of whom were white. Came upon this white homeless person. They roughed her up a little bit, taunted her. Then when she kind of fought back, they chased her, and the guy beat her so badly, she kind of caved her face in. Cops in Chicago are frantic to let people know that there's some really, really bad things going on in their town that you never hear on the newspapers or the TV. This one kind of slipped through. Lots and lots of other stuff going on in Chicago people never hear about. Why don't we move on to San Francisco for something that took place in the same kind of neighborhood, i.e. the kind of neighborhood that bad things never happen in.
Another tourist has been attacked in San Francisco and remains in the hospital tonight with life-threatening injuries. That's after being stabbed in the head. This time it happened on what most people think of as a quiet, safe street, Post, between Gulf and Franklin. That's where Crown 4's Dan Kerman is live tonight. Dan, do police have any leads in this case?
Well, they have very few leads at this point, but they are canvassing the neighborhood in hopes surveillance video will lead them to these suspects. They have somewhat of a description, but at least at this point, not enough to make any sort of an arrest. A vicious stabbing on Post Street in San Francisco.
I think that's crazy. I'm a little surprised.
It's usually a pretty nice neighborhood.
While most who live and work around Post Street between Gulf and Franklin find it a safe place to be, that's not how it was Thursday night. About 8:30, a 44-year-old tourist from England was walking back to his hotel with his 23-year-old niece when the two were approached by two robbers.
There was some kind of a brief struggle, and during the commission of the robbery, there was a stabbing that the suspect stabbed the victim in the head, we believe to be a knife or a sharp object.
The male victim is now hospitalized with life-threatening injuries. The female victim was uninjured. The suspects are described as an African-American man and woman. The man 5 feet 10 inches tall with a muscular build. The woman 5 feet 4 inches tall with dreadlocks or braids that flowed down her back and the top part in a ponytail. She was also wearing a green and gray wool scarf, which police have recovered and are now analyzing.
Did she begin that report by saying another attack in a nice San Francisco neighborhood? I think she did.
A robbery in a primo San Francisco neighborhood has police beefing up security.
I can always tell when we have a new troll on our YouTube channel or Facebook page. Person comes in and always says the same thing. Something like, "Oh, Colin, you're just cherry picking. You just picked one story out of a billion, and now you're trying to convince us that, black people are this or black people are that." I always gently suggest maybe they should look at the 1,000 other videos on the channel with the thousands and thousands of other cases of black mob violence and black on white crime and black criminality that is wildly out of proportion. Every one of these three things here, right, it not just illustrates a bigger trend of how black on white crime is out of proportion. It also, every one of these stories represents something that says, oh yeah, that's been happening here for a long time. San Francisco, the local newspaper had to describe black on Asian crime. It got so prevalent, they had to put a headline in saying that was our town's dirty little secret. I think a lot of cities have a lot of secrets we don't know about relating to racial violence and race. And the psychiatrists tell us we're only as sick as our secrets. What are we more secretive about in this country than race and racial violence? Nothing. That's why when you're in San Francisco or Columbus or Chicago, please take this bit of advice from all the law enforcement officers all over the country that are watching this page, sending me videos, sending me emails, begging me to keep telling the truth, to let you know what's happening out there. They want you to know one thing. Don't make the black kids angry.